My name is Kapil Nakra, and I'm one of the co-founders of Digital Vidya. To lead this session, we have with us Manish Vij, who is a founder of Smile When Group and a very known personality in Indian digital marketing space. Along with Manish, we also have Anshul Joshi. He is Director Product Strategy at Precision Max, and he would be presenting some interesting case studies. So in today's webinar, the stuff that we would be covering is we'll start into looking into the whole world of data-driven digital marketing, what all goes in it, and then we'll look into how to really leverage the first and the third party data to fine-tune your digital marketing campaign. We'll also look into some of the latest trends, including the whole confusion around big data and how to really leverage it appropriately. And we'll also try to delve into some aspects related to privacy regulation when it comes to collecting user data. So without taking any further time, now I would like to hand it over to Manish. And before that, just to set the logistics, this session will go on for an hour duration. The recording and the session PDF would be available for all of you. We'll mail you sometime later. And during the session, if you have any question, you can just type it down in the question panel. And I'll try to take all the questions that you would be raising during the session in chronological order after the presentation. That would be about 35 minutes from now. Okay. So before we start the session, why don't we start with a quick poll? Okay. And that's something that we want to know. Are you a digital advertiser? Is being digital advertising is part of your role or not?
Kapil, shall we start?
Just a minute. Everybody's responding to that, and as soon as I have the results, I'll let you know as well, and then we'll start the session. So, Manish, as per the current data, there are 47 participants currently. 46% have said that yes, they are digital advertisers, and 54% have said no, they're not digital advertisers. Okay, so that's the result, and over to you, Manish, now.
Kapil, we are unable to hear you, but shall we start?
Yes, you can start now.
Okay, great. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking time out. I hope this session is worth your time. We'll try and make the best use of it. So we will run our presentation, or we will continue to speak and continue to make it one way for about 30-35 minutes. Just bear with us. Just have your patience, and then we'll open it to question and answers, because this being a little newer way to market, probably we expect a lot of questions, and therefore we are planning to give about 15-20 minutes on the questions. So like Kapil introduced, along with me is my colleague Anshul, who helped us build a precision business. Very quickly, SPG Media today is one of the largest digital media network groups, and we have through our three businesses, Tyro, DGM, and Precision Match. Tyro and DGM primarily operate in the performance marketing business and run performance ad networks, whereas Precision Match, a business that we launched about year and a half, 2 years back, was one of India's and is one of India's first data display business, other than Google to a large extent. And we invested in this business way ahead a lot of people even thought around data display, and we are fully committed to bring this change or educate the users or educate the marketers around this. And today's discussion is all about Precision Match and what it does on data display marketing. So I'll just move to the next slide, just to kind of give everyone an overview about what we'll be discussing today. So we'll quickly tell the audience about data-driven digital marketing, how about how an organization on a practical. So we'll take you to a practical case study, how a brand is using the first and third party data to kind of fine-tune their digital marketing campaigns. What is the impact, and everyone's talking about big data as a, they're using big data, as a buzzword these days. We're just trying to kind of give you a little view around the big data that we are talking about, and surely some of the best practices for targeting and retargeting. So let me uh, talk to you about what data-driven digital marketing. So let's say digital marketing practically started about let's say around 1995, when people started to kind of talk about digital marketing, and uh, 2004, and I'm talking majorly about India right now. The context is in around 2005, fag end of 2004, 5 is when the brands started to take digital media a lot more seriously than between the first 10 years of digital media. Now, from 2005 till 2000, let's say 12, 11, 12, the media planning, or maybe till 2010, the media planning was very simple. It was more like television was bought to some extent, or the same philosophies of digital media, of the media buying was there. So, in newspapers or in television, what happens? Typically, you go to a television channel, you buy a certain program, you buy certain seconds on certain programs. And the reason why you buy it, because you feel that probably my audience comes and watches that program. When you used to buy a large publisher, or India's number one internet publisher, and you used to run campaigns there, you used to say, hey, you know what? I believe my audiences come there. So the media planning was around, okay, give me ad space on publisher X. And the negotiation used to happen, hey, you know what, give me a CPM for Y rupees or A rupees or C rupees, give me a cost per click for this rupees, etc. This used to be the real classical way of how media planning used to happen between 2005 and let's say 2007, 8. And then this whole Google phenomenon came, and Google completely made their search marketing on a cost per click basis and more in a bidded environment. That actually brought in a whole new phenomenon change. But display was still bought the way I was trying to tell you that display was being bought. But in 2010, or actually 2011, some companies globally kind of innovated the concept of exchanges. Now, or real-time bidding. What real-time bidding or exchanges do is that they are able to consolidate large amount of inventories on a single platform, large amount of display inventories on single platform, and enable bidding on each impression. So in nanoseconds, in microseconds, whenever before an impression is supposed to be served, an impression is the display banner that is served on various websites. They say before that banner is served, a call goes to all the people who probably wants to buy that impression. Mr. X or Company X might want to bid 1 rupee on that. Mr. Company Y might want to bid Y rupee on that. And depending on who's the best bidder on this, immediately in nanoseconds the decision is taken, and that display impression is allotted to that particular brand. Now, this exchanges phenomenon came in around 2000. So technology was disrupting the way media was being negotiated or bought. So that came in 2000, closer to 2010, 11. Now, with that happening, what happened is that we could possibly, me individually, a brand, my mom, can individually bid on a display impression like we were bidding on search. Like we were bidding on search, on every keyword is bidded. Now I could also bid every single impression, display impression. The whole effort of digital data-driven marketing or data-driven display marketing is to make display as efficient as search. We all know that search is the most efficient form of digital advertising, and display was losing its charm. Therefore, all these efforts whether it is bringing on exchanges or whether using data, is to make display work as efficiently as search. Now, so I'm coming back to the fact that when in 2010-11, when the advent of exchanges happened, the next step was, hey, you know what? When I can bid on each and every impression, why don't I now bid on each impression intelligently? Now, what is the intelligence? The intelligence is that the cookie is a small, very small file. For people who don't know, it's a very, very small file placed on each computer to identify the behavior of the computer, and is dropped by most of the websites. So if you go on, let's say, any website, that website could possibly drop a cookie into your system to see your behavior, or to put any kind of small information that it can in that file, without your personal identification information like your name or age or mobile number or whatever. So then the big data companies said, hey, you know what? We can use cookies to now decide that for which impression do I have to bid what amount. So for example, if it is the cookie that I really want, that is, this customer is the most potential customer, I would bid higher. If the customer is not so potential, I can bid probably lower. And if it is, if it is not potential at all, I can probably not even bid on that and let it pass. To decide the bid on each impression, data has started becoming important. And therefore we say that it is now the age of data-driven digital display marketing. Also, why it is important, another reason. First, technology enabled it. I took you through the fact that exchanges was launched. We can now build inventory on a real-time basis, and therefore we can now use cookies to find which cookie do we have to bid on. Now, why it is important? In digital marketing, the supply of media is greater than the demand of media. That means we have much more number of impressions in the digital economy, in the digital world, than the buyers. So when there is a gap between supply and demand, it becomes all the more important for an individual buyer to only buy an impression that he thinks is useful for him. So I don't know how many of you today are marketers or buyers or agency people, but when you buy, and when I have bought personally, I have said, hey, you know, just give me cost per click. Just give me 5 rupees cost per click, 4 rupees cost per click, 10 rupees cost per click. There was no science around it. Now that click could have happened from person who is highest potential for you or lowest potential for you, you don't know. But now the technology is, and you know, and there was no way to find that out. But my sense is that if now you are able to bid for different potential of your customers differently, you should rather do that, or you should rather, and not start blind, or not continue to buy blind. When you don't, so it's like search marketing. If I am selling watches, I probably will not bid on golf. It's the same way. If the display impression is not being shown to my potential user, I would probably not bid on it. And cookie, which is actually the data, enables you to find which is the right person to bid on or not bid on. Having said that, this business or this whole concept is continuing to evolve. It is about 3 to 4 years old. We are the first ones to launch in India, but in US there are many businesses who have, because it's a very mature economy, a lot of businesses have been launched there. Let me try and explain you what is third party and first party. First party data is when the cookie or the data is your own cookie or your own data. That means if I'm an e-commerce player and I have dropped, and there was a visitor who came to my website. He's my user. He's my visitor. That is, he's my cookie. So I drop the cookie on a system to track that person. It is the first party data. That means it is my own cookie. The third party data is basically that you are, let's say, again, I'm taking an example of watch brand. You are a watch brand and you want to target, let's say, females. And then there is a publisher who has given his data out saying these number of cookies are females who have come onto my publishing platform and has allowed advertising on those cookies. So that publisher has given these female oriented cookies into a system for a third party to use. That is for an advertiser to use. So today a watch brand who wants to advertise to females, and he's sourcing these cookies. He doesn't have his own cookies. He doesn't have his own first party data. And he's sourcing these cookies from a third publisher, from a publisher who already has a lot of female audiences. That is called third party data. So when you are using somebody else's data, it's called third party data. When you are using your own data, it is called first party data. Targeting users on first party data, that means targeting users on your own cookie pool, is also called retargeting. That means you are using the data of your own visitors to now target wherever they have gone. Some of you may have seen a lot of e-commerce banners when you have visited the same website before. That fundamentally is called retargeting. That means they are using you. That means you came to their website, they tracked you as a first party cookie or first party data user. They said, hey, you haven't purchased something. Let me go behind you and track you and then reach out to you. That means in billions of impressions, an e-commerce company is only focused on to displaying to users that have been to their own website. What a great targeting. Otherwise, if this technology was not available, probably if they were like 5 years back, they would have bought users by just saying to publishers, give me a click, please. Give me a click, please. Now, that click would have been coming from who they would have never come to know. Take example of so that was an e-commerce guy using first party. Similarly, if I'm a watch brand, I want to only showcase to women. In older days, I would have gone to, let's say, a website, India's largest website, and I would have said, I want to target women. At best, if he was an email publisher, he would have gone and said, hey, you know what, I have so many database of emails, probably I would go and showcase the banners to them. But that is only on one website. Today, the technology allows us to take that cookie pool from any third-party website and target these females wherever they go or wherever they are. This way, out of billions of impressions, they have only reached out to the segment they want to. And these segments can be in thousands of profiles. People who have searched for sedans in the last 30 days. Let's say if the automobile company only wants to reach out to those audience, they can today. It wasn't possible 3 years back. And today the marketers and automobile marketer who is not using this data, whether first party or third party, is, in my opinion, probably doing spray and pray, which was a mass media approach and not a targeted digital media approach. And therefore, as someone who's running this business and somebody who has experienced for the last so many years around digital, I would humbly submit that you all should use data-driven display marketing to make your digital marketing work as good as your search, to make your display marketing work as good as search. And data is being used where? Google uses a lot of data because they are a search client. Facebook uses a lot of data because they have a lot of database. Twitter uses a lot of data because they have their own proprietary data. But so many other websites where you want to possibly advertise do not have data. And this technology that probably Anshu will now present you how we did it do for clients enables you to, apart from these 3-4 publishers who have their own data, if you want to run advertising on so many thousands and 2,000 and lakhs of other websites, you can control from your own, from the cookie base, and target and only bid to the right impressions at the right point of time. And today, interestingly, we have taken an example of a political party that we cannot unfortunately name, who we are working with, who is using this technique to drive their digital display marketing through data. Because if a political party can use this, in my opinion, the brand managers are probably much better placed to use this and use a lot of this data to control. So we are that was all a lot of yarn till now. I would now like to spend some 10-15 minutes on the presentation of how we work for this political campaign, and then we will be moving on to questions. Anju.
Thank you, Manish. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I actually move on to the actual case study, I would just like to spend a couple of minutes just quickly illustrating how the overall data targeted advertising piece works. So I hope everyone can see the next slide, with a very complicated looking figure. So starting from the top left, online audiences, they actually display a lot of different behaviors in the form of different data points. These behaviors could be site-specific search. Now, for example, you go to a car comparison portal and search for a specific sedan. That becomes one data point. You can browse some categories of content. You can share specific content. You can compare a few products. All these are the different data points that are captured into a data management platform. This is a centralized platform that allows us to actually not only aggregate very large amounts of data, but at the same time, it allows us to sort of analyze and segment this data into meaningful buckets as well. So after these data points are collected in the data management platform, they are standardized into multiple traits that we can use. For instance, we could be getting data from multiple websites regarding the same signal, which could be, for example, a car, and which is a compact sedan. Now, all these multiple disparate data points could be sort of categorized into one common trait, which is called cars, and then sub trait being sedans, and then being compact sedans. So once these traits actually get created in the data management platform itself, they are then further analyzed to actually classify the cookies that these are associated with into multiple segments. Now these segments are actually the ones that are made available to advertisers for targeting. An example of this segment could be intent to buy a handset, for instance, in the next 30 days, or interest in finance, and that too in credit products, or for instance, a B2B or an SMB category interested user. So all these segments, once classified within the data management platform itself, are then made available via another platform, which is called a DSP, demand side platform. Now this, as Manish earlier mentioned, is a common platform which is connected to a lot of different exchanges through real-time bidding mechanism. And these exchanges are in fact where you buy those display ad impressions from. This broadly gives you a sense of how data is captured from the beginning and how it is used in the end on demand side platforms, which as an input into your display media buying. Another thing which this data can be used for is a technique called lookalike modeling. Now I'm sure everyone would have heard of audience extensions, or whenever you go to different e-commerce websites, you might have sort of observed some product suggestions, being displayed at some point or the other. This is done through a recommendation engine, which uses a lot of inputs about your browsing behavior to suggest products. For example, if you went to an e-commerce website and browsed for men's apparel, and that too mostly, let's say formal, footwear, you might get suggestions for that people who browse this might also, also bought or also liked this. This is a kind of, product recommendation engine that, that websites employ. Similarly, all the data that is captured onto the data management platform can actually be used as an input for profiling certain audiences. So for instance, if you look at the illustration on your left, this is actually just a small set of audiences that are used and as an input for any kind of analytical modeling, right? Let's further assume that only a small percentage of these audiences are converting audiences. Now the trick is to actually profile these audiences on the basis of the different traits that we've earlier captured. For example, the highlighted sort of figures are actually, either a female wearing, a red top and a headset, or a female wearing a blue top with blonde hair. Right? These are just some physical characteristics or traits that I'm describing, but the corresponding traits that we capture could be something like this is a person who's expressed interest in buying a car in the next 90 days, or this person was actually a very avid, browser of Facebook, or this person is a very regular, tweeter. So all these traits can be used to profile the audiences who actually convert from, a small set of audiences that are used as an input. Then, we've got, a very large set of audiences that we've actually mapped over time. And, we've got these audiences mapped across multiple traits. Now, basis the profile that we've created of the original, input audiences, we can then find audiences who have similar traits, right? Now, although these audiences, that we have mapped initially actually converted, but in order to actually extend this audience and find more of these kind of people, we can use the same, profile that we created earlier to find audiences from a very large data set that actually look like a converting audiences. So this whole process of finding, similar audiences to the ones that are of interest to you is called look-alike modeling. Now, this is the same technique that we used for the political party that Manish spoke of, to actually get them, much larger audiences than they actually saw on their website. So this is just a quick illustration of, how the audiences looked in our DMP. As you can see on the right-hand side, we are getting multiple signals of, people coming to the website. For instance, on one of the dates that have been highlighted, on the 23rd of January, we saw just over 22,000, different, people come to this political party's website. Now, this audience was in fact used as an input to actually profile and hence sort of, extend these audiences to, a much larger set, which, which would likely be more receptive to political communication online. So again, not only just the site visitors, but multiple traits were actually mapped. For example, things like, whether, this particular audience came from a specific geography, or, what kind of pages that they visited. All these traits could potentially be, inputs into, defining a Now, as mentioned earlier, we actually created a profile of this audiences. This is the input set. Some of the influential features that we observed that defined this audience set were that these audiences were largely microblogging users, that is Twitter, travel intenders or online shoppers, and the works. So similarly, we get a list of about 50 to 100 most influential traits which actually describe these audiences. and are then further used in as an input in lookalike modeling. So stands to reason that obviously the visitors that come to the party's website are a very small percentage of the overall internet user population. So if you were just to retarget these users, you would never be able to scale a campaign, right? But in order to scale a campaign in a targeted fashion, you don't want to just go with a spray and pray approach, but actually use these audiences as an input to actually, find a custom audience segment, which is very similar to these people who are already visiting the website, and hence, increase the effectiveness of the campaign. So this was an example of a lookalike model that we observed from the overall data set that we have we've mapped on our DMP. By the way, I would just like to mention that all the data that we collect on our DMP is actually only non-personally identifiable information. So I don't really know any names, any numbers, or any email addresses that that we ever use for profiling any of the audiences. It's all aggregated, non-personally identifiable information. And also all this data that we use for lookalike modeling is only publisher data. So, all this, basis sort of, the lookalike models that we ran, we managed to sort of extend this 77,000 odd users from the party's website to approximately 13.6 million, new potential recipients at around 82% accuracy. So as you can see that, as you try and increase the accuracy, the volume of the data segment would actually go down, and it actually falls quite sharply once you sort of try and increase the accuracy too much. What this actually means is that as there is more and more sort of data which goes in the input set in the sample, you can get a much larger audience base, and that too without compromising on the accuracy of the match. So anyways, this is how the first party data was used and mapped onto the third party data to actually get a much larger, which could then be targeted with political campaign communication.
Now, just to kind of add to Anshu's point, that this was used because that party's website, or say for example, if this was a brand, this brand's website was only getting a limited amount of users, let's say 10,000 to 20,000 users every day. So if they wanted to do a data-driven display marketing, they probably wanted a lot of users to be targeted. They don't just want to target these 10,000 users. So therefore, they went into a lookalike modeling to expand the base of people they want to target. If this was a brand, let's say like an e-commerce company or any other brand, who are already getting hundreds and thousands of users every day, let's say they're getting lakh users every day or 2 lakh users every day, then you do not need to do the lookalike modeling to a large extent, because you already have a lot of users coming onto your website that you may want to go up and target your own users, and that is large enough for you to target. So now, if I just go back to the thought that I probably started with, that in digital media, the demand is less than supply, or supply is greater than demand. Therefore, rather than spraying and praying, it is most important to do use either a third-party data using lookalike analysis, or just third-party data without lookalike analysis, or first-party data, much more effective than just go out and buying a click or an impression blindly. So if I were to say that, getting back to the action point, if I were to say that a typical media plan today should look like having a bit of search, having a bit of social, which is largely Facebook and Twitter, having a bit of data display, and having a bit of brand advertising. Now, brand advertising, where you are not bothered, who is probably less bothered who is seeing and who is not, and you're ready to kind of get mass advertising, which is, let's say, a takeover on the home page or splash screens, etc. That being one part of it, where it's more advertising. Otherwise, everything else, Google, which is search, is data-driven. Facebook, which is social, and Twitter are data-driven. Display, which was still third some time back not data driven is also become data driven. And lastly, the only non-data thing which is remaining, which is non-targeted, is just whenever you want to splash your money into doing brand advertising. And we showed this example to you for a political party, and I think that clearly illustrates the fact that how everyone's using it. This is new technology. I would like to tell you that, of course, some of you, it may sound a lot complex, but it is not as complex as it probably sounds. Once you start using it, or once you've used it once and you've tried it a couple of times, I think it becomes a lot easier. These tools are expensive, and therefore you need a service provider like us, or anyone else, or if you're a large marketer, you may take these tools on your own as well. The tools that are required to do this is, one is the DMP, which is the data management platform on which you will reside, store your data. Uh, you need a seat on a DSP, or an exchange, which is still easily available, or and then you need to understand how to buy it. If you don't know all of this, you can get your agency to buy it from one of the service providers like that. So broadly, I would like to kind of press our presentation till here. There is about 15 minutes remaining, and I think we could possibly take questions.
Great. I think it was definitely a very insightful session, and personally learned a lot in terms of what's going on in uh, the display advertisement space in terms of the data driven approach. So there are a lot of questions actually, and what I'll do is I'll try to pick up first some of the basics regarding the technology aspect. And some of the people have, like Pranay Asim, he has a question: how does cookie from a website X identify a user of website Y? Assuming he's talking about when it comes to collecting the third party data, is there some automated way to do it, or is it like something that you have to sort of buy it in some other way? I believe the cookie are website specific and can only read by the particular website only. So that's his question.
Absolutely. So, in order to actually, that's a very good question, by the way. So, in order to actually read a cookie, you have to drop it in the first place using the same technology. For example, when we are actually sort of dropping a cookie and tying up with different publishers to collect this data, we actually tag their website using our own technology, which is sort of the DMP cookie, that gets dropped, and at the same time, a pixel gets fired and records information about the same cookie. So this cookie is then actually, matched to a cookie which resides on the DSP, the demand side platform, using a technique called a server-to-server sync. So this allows both the technologies, so the DMP as well as the DSP, to share information about each other's cookies and map a corresponding cookie that a DSP would have dropped on the same user. For example, let's say it's a website X and user A goes to that website. So there's one cookie that gets dropped by the DMP. Now this DMP will actually share the information about user A with the DSP using server-to-server sync. Now the DSP will then identify user A using its own cookie, right? And when this particular DSP cookie gets identified on any of the websites which are a part of a network, the DSP gets a opportunity to bid on that user, for a specific impression, and then show an ad. But that's, in short, yes, you're absolutely right. One technology's cookies cannot easily be read by another technology. It's not allowed. But through a server-to-server sync, this information can be shared, and ultimately a DSP can use this for targeting.
Got it. Another interesting question is asked by Pooja Singh. She wants to know what is the guarantee of the third party data, the third party behavioral data that's been collected.
So I think in terms of guarantee, we do have some independent third party players who are actually into the verification game. So ultimately, the kind of audiences that you reach, is with a specific objective. and if the campaign objectives get met by targeting that data, that is basically the guarantee, and that is, I would, in short, I'd like to say the proof is in the pudding. But yes, in terms of verification, we do have some third-party verification tools that either we can facilitate for any advertiser or a marketer that wants to work with us, or they can implement it themselves.
What we also do is because if we name a specific publisher of a cookie that of a cookie that we're using, probably it is cannibalization of its own business. Therefore, instead of giving a publisher-wise list of for which publisher we are using cookie for, we probably share a list of publishers, an overall list of publishers from whom we are getting these cookies. And the genuinity of those publishers are these are branded publishers, tier A publishers, for top 100 publishers. I think some of these benchmarks are important whenever you're working with a third party player. And we're just talking in our case that we do that.
Got it. By the way, Manish, there was just one question that was there in my head. We individually, internally, we use a lot of remarketing campaign on Google and do a lot of retargeting on Facebook as well. Suppose I do not have to do lookalike kind of stuff, right? If it's only have to use my own data, uh, uh, Google and Facebook itself gives me good enough reach to do the retargeting and remarketing campaign. And like, but using the precision match technology versus using Google and Facebook, I mean, what are the pros and cons, and like, so where it fits in exactly?
Kapil, I stopped hearing you when you started comparing me from Google and Facebook. But anyway, uh, uh, you know, so I think that's a very valid question. That debate is not over yet. So this debate happens in each panel that I go and talk about. That if I'm using retargeting on Google and on Facebook, and they cover almost like 60, 70, or I mean almost like 90% of base in India at least. Do I still want to kind of go out and use any other technology for retargeting? And this is for all the audience. He's very specifically asking for retargeting and not lookalike when when he wants to only retarget his own customers. So yes and no. Yes, you're correct that because they are reaching out and they're good technologies and they have this maximum reach. If you're a small marketer, I would say you should not dwell into taking other technologies on board for retargeting. But if you're a large marketer, you do not want to leave your because the customer has a habit in retargeting, specifically because it's e-commerce. The customer goes to an e-commerce player X, an e-commerce player Y, an e-commerce player Z. So let's say if he, after going through all these websites, they all have this cookie, and now he didn't go to Google or Facebook, but he went on to some other website. Now, because it's such a competitive scenario, he does not want to leave a single instance. To leave the X doesn't want to leave a single instance as soon as the customer who came on X, Y, and Z go and not target when he didn't go on Google and Facebook. He's just bothered about conversion, whether that conversion came from Google or Facebook or from Precision Matches network does not matter. So if you are a large advertiser, you may want to have 2 or 3 players in retargeting so that you do not lose any instance to reach out to that person. But if you're a small marketer, just using Google and Facebook would be more than.
Got it. Great. Okay. In the similar light, there's a question asked by Mihir Thakkar. He wants to know, would retargeting be a push marketing or a simple display? Would I be prompted for the same ad as at all I log into the page that I'm managing from my primary Facebook account?
Push versus pull. I think both, because if you didn't want to buy and we are still talking to you, it is push. But if you wanted to buy and you were still in a decisive stage and we are showing you more lookalike products, then it is pull. So it is both ways. And but I didn't get the second part. Sorry, Kapil.
Yeah, the second part is, would I be prompted for the same ad if at all I log into the page that I'm managing from my primary Facebook account?
I am sorry, I didn't understand this still clearly. But if he's asking that will I be retargeted on my Facebook account? Yes, if the advertiser is also integrated with Facebook, he would be targeted on Facebook as well.
So, and just to add to that, the kind of ads that you see are a combination of factors that different technologies employ for showing the optimal creative, which would actually get you to click and ultimately convert on that particular product. For example, the simplest way to retarget is to show the last product that the user browsed on a specific retailer's website, and because that user probably dropped off from that particular page. It's called a site abandoner or cart abandoner, and there's a high likelihood that you can convert with that page. But that's not to say that if you browse three products on the website, you're not interested in the first and second one. So in all likelihood, the marketer would try and target you maybe the first 4 or 5 times with the last product that you saw, and then once that did not work, they would probably switch on to the previous products that you have seen on the website in the hope that you'll convert on those particular products.
Got that. Great. Another question is asked by Kamal Mahajan. He wants to know, what is the currency used to buy lookalike data? Is it per cookie based, or and how does the whole thing works?
Yeah. So the currency used is CPM, cost per thousand, which is impressions served, which are targeted to that particular lookalike segment. So essentially, right now, we are only making we only have the feature of a full service offering where we do the lookalike modeling as well as sort of do the targeting against that particular lookalike audience, and we sort of build in the cost of technology and lookalike modeling and all that into the cost per thousand that we charge for the number of impressions that a marketer wants to buy.
So it's the media that you buy, not the cookie.
Yeah.
Great. So there's a comment from Siddharth. He's saying that after visiting an e-commerce website and buying a product, I saw a banner of the same product on other website, which I've already purchased. What is it using the same retargeting campaign? So I think, yes, that's what retargeting is all about.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, talking about some of the best practices of using first-party data, for engaging with your users again, you have to be very mindful of, at what point in the purchase funnel is your user currently at. So if a user has already purchased the product, it's actually best practice to not target that user maybe for at least 15, 30 days, and definitely not with the same product, because that user has already converted. But yes, the technique used is same as retargeting. Some of the other best practices, around retargeting would be obviously doing the frequency management. So not bombarding the user with ads for the same product. If a user has seen your ad once, when you tried showing it to him maybe 10 times, if the user hasn't converted after seeing after being exposed to your ads 10 times in a single day, there's a high likelihood that he won't convert on the 11th time either. So frequency management is very important. Then it's also important to limit the number of vendors that you work with for retargeting. So obviously you can work with multiple players to run to cookie the same audience base that comes to your website, and all of them will be showing ads to the same user and probably for the same product. Uh, so obviously, since these different vendors don't speak with each other, your overall frequency management with which you want to engage with the user, goes all over the place. So even if every single vendor, let's say you're using five vendors, every single user employs a frequency cap of 10 per user, which is sort of a best practice. uh, that user might still potentially end up seeing your ad 50 times. So that's another point to sort of take into account.
Great. Uh, so by the way, I think in the initial period, you were not able to hear me when we did the survey. How many of you are digital advertiser? The result said that 46% said yes to that. So out of everyone who is attending, 46% are digital advertisers. Another interesting question is asked by Sunil. He wants to know, in B2B case where usually the gestation period are high, how does campaign like this be helpful to keep the interest over a period of time? So is there some specific, I mean, you think for B2B case it's useful, not useful, they should not think about it at this stage, or like, what's your view on that?
B2B is a lot tricky. I'm not sure. To some extent, retargeting might work. To some extent, third party. So there are B2B advertisers who work with us on lookalike modeling, or not even lookalike marketing, maybe direct targeting SME base. So they do, but because it is the gestation period is high, uh, uh, maybe we have seen a different media altogether. But emails work better on CRM works better on B2B, not so much on and also depends. B2B is such a wide sector. I mean, Kapil, you are also B2B and you're using retargeting. I mean, but and to some extent you're also B2B, B2C, and it really depends on the B2B genre that you're talking about. But it's a little more trickier than B2C business.
And I think, in my opinion, ultimately, when you go to the basics of marketing, the overall sort of purchase funnel through which a consumer passes through, whether it's B2B or B2C, remains the same. Even though the speed at which a user goes from awareness to interest to desire to action might differ. So if you're using any of these channels, you just need to know what is your objective. So if you are a B2C channel, then obviously conversion is your ultimate objective, and if you're using retargeting, then your evaluation criteria would be how cheaply can you sort of convert a user. Whereas if you're B2C, then probably the purpose of retargeting is not necessarily conversion, but to maybe maintain that interest that you've already sort of made the user sort of aware of your product, and now to move the user from a interest to a desire phase, for instance. You could perhaps use retargeting to engage with this user on your social media channels. You can use this retargeted message to drive the user to perhaps your blogs or your other social media channels where you're providing more information about your product. So the objective here would not be conversion. And if you evaluate retargeting in the right way, then I think it's, in my opinion, it's applicable to both B2C and B2B.
Great. Another interesting question asked by Mohit. So I'm before
Sorry, you can't hear you, Kapil.
okay. Am I audible now?
Okay, yeah, it's okay now.
Great. Okay. So before I ask this question, I'm just launching this poll for everybody. So as Digital Vidya, we conduct formal courses in digital marketing. If you want to participate in any of the online formal course in digital marketing, just say yes over here. So interesting question asked by Mohit. I'm simultaneously taking up questions. When I work with third-party data for remarketing, can I use my customer data for from my competition companies?
No.
No, you can't specifically do that, right?
Yeah, no.
Great.
So, obviously, companies will not share their data to be used by competitors. And, and also, if you were to try and do it behind their backs, it's just not ethical. And I don't think any company would, want to do that.
Got it. Great. So, one of the things that I've been wondering is, as an organization, um, if you could give me some rough strategy on first to decide whether I should go with the data-driven digital advertisement or not, and if I am, then should I? What are the sort of question I should ask myself before I decide? Okay, I need precision match, or I can just go with the Google right now, and just that would be good enough for me. So if there are some set of questions that you can give to every advertiser, uh, which would help them to decide whether they need it or not, and that would be very helpful.
So we both haven't prepared for it, but so we'll talk on the fly.
Sure.
I'll talk about the questions that come to my mind, and then maybe Anshul can on his behalf. So first of all, in my opinion, let me start with the upper funnel. Are you a performance advertiser versus are you a non-performance advertiser? What it really means is a performance advertiser. Everyone wants performance. It's not about performance, no performance. It's about last mile performance. That is, you want leads and acquisitions and sales? Is leads, acquisition, sales possible to track seamlessly for your product online? That means this can be basically done for e-commerce companies, banks, automobile to some extent, and insurance companies and blah blah blah, internet companies. So that really comes in the performance set of advertisers. In performance set of that is last mile performance. Non-performance is you are a brand. Your ultimate goal is sale happens offline, or interaction happens offline. I mean, not online, and it is that track is offline. So you can only reach out to the right set of users. You can get the click from the right set of users. You can get them to visit to your website and educate them about those users, or something like that. Reach is so in one place last mile performance is important. In the other place reach is important. Now, if you're a performance-oriented player, and if you're a large player, I think you want every channel, because you want Google, you want Facebook, you want Twitter, you want Facebook, you want everything, because you are tracking everything to last mile. Whosoever can come and give you a sale in X rupees, you will give it to him with that quality parameter. So therefore, let's move on to saying that you are not a performance marketer. You are looking for reach. Now, if you're looking for reach, I think the question at your end is that what is the aim, goal, and the budget you have? So if let's say the budget can be absorbed very effectively by a Google or a Facebook. It is unfortunate, but I think you should limit your media plan to that point in time, and do some experiments so that you are not putting all the eggs in in a couple of baskets. Do some experiments using either a precision match or Twitter or any other data-driven digital marketing. Now, not necessarily data-driven display, because precision match is only data-driven display. But if you are a large marketer, and if you want and you don't have large first party, I mean, you don't have large visitors coming on your website, then apart from Google, Facebook, Twitter, you will have to use a company like ours, Precision Match, to use third-party data to target the right set of users. Unfortunately for us, right now, because we are the only company who have invested, we've invested to build 100 million cookie pool, and you can come and pick and choose of this 100 million cookie pool of your right segment people from your lookalike analysis. So, and then of course, because you're a large marketer, you will also end up using other channels as well. But I would request that to by far as possible, other than brand / marketing, any kind of digital marketing should be data driven, accountable, and therefore and data and accountability go hand in hand. If you just blindly buy like any other media buyer in television or print, or any other buyer like we were buying 5 years back on digital, I would say you're not doing justice to the money that you are spending versus the money and the role that you are doing. And lastly, I would also put my neck out and say that don't get bogged by the fact that, hey, you know what, I can buy mass clicks for 4 rupees, 5 rupees, 6 rupees, 7 rupees. And when I go and buy data-driven display clicks, they cost me 20 rupees, 30 rupees. But just imagine that if 50% of the clicks that you're buying for 7 rupees, 10 rupees are practically not required, or not to your right potential and are just coming from the audience which you don't know, then not only those clicks are wasted, but also the 99.9% people or 99.8% people who have not clicked on the banners, because only 0.2% is an average click-through rate. You are even not showing it to the right set of people, though you are not paying for it. But at least take advantage of showing it to the right set of people. If you're buying data-driven display marketing, that at least, then you're taking the advantage to at least show it to the right set of users, because only 0.2% of the clicks. So now you've bought the right impressions automatically and also got the right clicks. And you are, and that 20 rupees is practically less than 2 rupees, 3 rupees click that you bought if you worked on a funnel.
Yeah, I think that's all great. Manish, the point that I have is fairly elementary, and I think it has more to do with how data targeted campaigns work. So it's important to realize that before a data targeting campaign starts, for instance, if you want to use a first party data, it takes maybe about 3 to 5 days to just set up the data collection process, and then another couple of weeks to build up a data pool, and then when you start targeting this data pool, for your retargeting purposes, it takes maybe from 2 to 4 weeks just for it to get fully optimized, right? So if you are after maybe some short-term objectives, for example, just you want to increase the traffic to your website, the visits to your website over the weekend, retargeting is probably not the way to go about it. So it's important to appreciate how this the data targeting campaigns work. With third-party data, because this data is completely new. It's, we know nothing about these users as far as your product is concerned. We are only trying to use them as a filter to narrow down your targeting. It might even take longer for the campaigns, but definitely over a longer term time frame, audience data targeted campaigns offer you much more targeted reach, much more relevant audience, and therefore it's important to understand what kind of campaign you want to run. If it's a short-term campaign, I think a short blunt answer would be the no, data targeting is not something you want to go after. If it's a medium to long-term campaign, then yes, audience data targeting, whether first party or third party, could be very helpful for you, provided you evaluate it in the right context.
And that's a very valid point. And to some large advertisers, in fact, most of the advertisers unfortunately say, 10 days, please burn the money. I mean, that's really not the right way to kind of run the campaign, at least on data display. But for large advertisers who to probably give away this problem, we would say that start building your pool, so that if you are really faced with this problem and you are unable to solve this problem, that I don't have campaigns that can wait three weeks, then maybe start building pools from in advance, and so that whenever there is a rush of a campaign, you have this pool to target. So you will have to choose between the two. Otherwise, everything else to a large extent is launch budget kind of burning money. That 3 weeks I want to paint the town red. Now wherever that red is happening, that's not a problem. So if that I think that's a very valid point.
I think that was very helpful. And just for everyone's benefit, I know there are a lot of technical terms being used, so you might want to revisit it. So we have recorded this session, and within a couple of days' time, we'll send you the recording to all of you, and you can review whatever portion you want to. So that's it from my side, and really want to thank Anshul and Manish for taking time out and leading this very interesting session for all of us. Thanks a lot. And that's it from our side.